Welcome to the Untrapped Podcast, where we're motivated and inspired about success, small business, and personal development. And now, Keith Kelfitz.
What's up, guys? It's Keith Kelfitz with the Untrapped Podcast. We have Austin Douglas, Ditch the Itch, certified arborist. Way beyond that. This dude literally is building a very unique business in the green industry, and he's brilliant, by the way. I've known him for years now, and he's got his own YouTube channel. Dude, thanks so much for being on my podcast, bro.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
He's gonna blow your mind. He's like, hey man, settle down. Dude, I'm so glad that you're on the show here, because not only do you have your own business where you do poison ivy remediation, and you're a certified arborist. I also have done videos with you. If you just look up Keith Kelfitz and Ditch the Itch, or just look up your channel, and he is taking things to another level. And we just got lunch, and now we're here doing the podcast.
It was a delicious lunch.
It was a delicious lunch.
Good conversation, talking about business, talking about the future. So you can't beat it, right? If you're a business person, you like to be surrounded by other business people, and being able to talk about that, it's refreshing.
So tell us a little bit about where your business is at right now, and then how you got started and your plans for the future, and talk about all of your certifications. What does the patch on your shirt mean? All that stuff.
Well, where do I begin? So my business, basically, I'm in my 5th year in business right now. We're starting out pretty strong. We've accumulated some really nice size clients and contracts this year. I'm pretty sure we'll probably dive into that a little bit later. We specialize in poison ivy remediation services, mosquito control services, plant health care services, which, if you don't know what that is, that's basically insect disease management, nutrient management of trees and shrubs. I'm a certified arborist. That's what this patch is right here. And that's something that you finally get when when you take the exam and you pass that exam. It gives you basically, bare minimum knowledge, saying, hey, I understand tree work from all aspects. I'm also tree risk assessment qualified through the International Society of Arboriculture. That's something else that's a little bit more advanced. And basically that allows you to go up to a tree, determine how risky it is, put that on a document, and now that document can be upheld in court. So if there's any sort of insurance issues, or, a client has an issue with a municipality, they could always contact a certified arborist to have a document created saying, hey, this tree is high risk and it needs to be removed. And at that point, now it exchanges liability for that person. I'm also, a qualified plant healthcare technician. I'm a qualified oak wilt. There's quite a few qualifications that I have, but it stems from loving my industry, loving continuous education, and being happy with what I do.
Dude, so awesome. So cutting grass is cool. Landscaping is cool. Trimming shrubs and putting down mulch is cool. But this is like, bro, you're remediating poison ivy. You have certifications. You're doing tree injections. You're helping people with the sentimental value of a tree that could maybe be diseased. You're helping to save it. And you're doing this totally different avenue of high profit niche. What was Daniel Mirval was calling it, like a green, you got like
green collar professional,
bro. Hey, real quick. This is going to be weird, but I don't care. You know me, I got OCD. In the background of your shot, I have to fix these two things. The white chair behind you is drawing attention away, and then the black cable, put it behind your shirt. Trust me.
So yeah, this industry, you can have a lot of different aspects that you go down, whether you want to cut grass, whether you want to lay mulch, whether you want to install shrubs. Just this morning, I was actually, before I came over here to Keith's studio, I was actually performing a tree injection. And, not too many people perform tree injections, and not too many people understand why you might want to do that. This was a really unique one. This client, he had a $40,000 pool that he just had renovated on this property that he just bought last year. And what he didn't know when he renovated it and invested $40,000 into his property was that these black walnut trees, that's their canopies overhanging the pool, was just shedding, black walnuts and their husks everywhere all over the pool. It rendered his pool useless. So he's got this $40,000 investment, and he can't use it and he's upset. So he was at the point where he wanted to cut and eliminate these trees from his property. And I said, well, we could always inject them. We could reduce the fruit with an injection. He said, you can? Like his mind was like, I didn't even know that was possible. And so I said, yeah, we can absolutely do that. He's like, let's do it. I said, I'd rather keep the tree if I can, right? That tree adds value to his property. But because, it was like, well, am I going to be able to use the $40,000 investment on my property? If I can't, and it's because of these trees, I'm cutting them down. And so that's just kind of like the uniqueness of the business that I do, right? It's a niche service. You understand niche problems and you try and solve those.
Niche. So when a customer calls, what is what are they saying on the phone? Like, how do you pick up the phone and what are they saying? And how does the sales call kind of go? And then like, what are you selling them? And what's the average ticket price? Because you just closed a five-figure
mosquito job.
A 5-figure mosquito job, bro.
And this was a residential client. This isn't like this is a condo association or anything like that. No doubt. Okay. I don't want you guys to be out there thinking that occurs every day. That is definitely a unicorn for me. And I don't know that I will ever find a residential client that offers me that again, but I'm going to take care of this client for sure. But the sales call, I mean, it really depends on the service, right? Mosquitoes is more of a commodity because there's so many other mosquito companies out there. They kind of call, pick and choose. The benefit with having us as a mosquito company on your property is that we can also assess other issues. Do you have invasive species on your property? Do you have poison ivy on your property? Are your trees suffering? Do you have diseases going on? Like we can do a little bit more. So with us, that's kind of our benefit versus some other companies. As far as poison ivy goes, most people, they don't even know that the service exists until they go to Google and then they find a company that does it. And they're just like, oh my gosh, like this is a thing. People do this. And then they call us and they say, the big question is like, how much do you charge for this? And so it's like, well, let's back up. Let's talk about your situation, right? What is your situation? Are you on, acreage? Are you in a city lot? Do you have forests? What's your objective here? And so we walk through a process of what it is that they're having issues with, what it is that they want to do, and then we go from there. And, we have a base price that covers a certain amount of square footage, but to get me or my techs on a property, we do charge an inspection fee. So we're not going to leave our office to go to your house for free. It's $90 for us to show up. You'll have an expert on your property. We're going to walk the property together. An inspection's usually going to be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes on the long end, maybe an hour. But if it's an hour, it's because we're walking a substantial amount of area. And obviously the work is just climbing as far as price goes.
Wow. So, and also like let's say people who have a poison ivy problem, they can't tell, but they're itching all over the place and then they got a dog running around in it. How do you solve that problem when the people maybe they're starting to think, hey, what if we have poison ivy or poison oak? Like, where do you come in? Do people ever call you when they're like just frustrated because they keep getting rashes and then you
sometimes, most of the time they're going to go to their doctor, right? First and foremost, they're going to say, I don't know what this is, but I keep getting this rash. Is it fleas? Is it, some sort of allergic reaction?
They go to the doctor and the door and it's you in a white coat.
It's not me.
But ditch the itch.
But they go to the doctor, right? And they're like, what is this? I keep getting this on my body. It's every time I work outside. And the doctor says, oh, you have dermatitis. What's dermatitis? Oh, it's poison ivy. This is poison ivy. This is a poison ivy rash. Poison ivy. And now it changes their whole perspective. Oh, because now they go to Google and they're like, what's poison ivy? Oh. And so then they go out into their property and they start hunting this down. And then they might go to a big box store, purchase some weed killer and spray every single plant out there with 3 leaves when there's a lot of plants with 3 leaves. And so they're just endlessly spraying and killing various plants on their property just because they don't know how to properly identify it. So, what happens is if they realize that they have poison ivy, they have an issue, they realize they don't want to do it, that's when they contact us, we come in and we solve their problem. So we're problem solvers, right? In any business that you're a problem solver first. Whether you're solving the problem of beautifying a property through mulch or mowing the lawn, you're a problem solver. And so just the problem that we solve is a very unique one, and it has a very unique margin.
You actually hooked us up with a landscaping maintenance job 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
Time flies. You did poison ivy remediation for this customer, and then the customer's property was overgrown. And then we showed up and we did, trimmed all the shrubs and bushes and stuff.
She had mentioned to me that she needed somebody to do this and she couldn't do it herself. And so then I recommended you. I was like, well, call my friend Keith.
Yeah, and Keith, this maniac, will show up on your property with GoPro cameras and run around videotaping himself and making funny videos.
I didn't say that.
But no.
She's super nice client, though, right? Super nice client.
Make sure if you videotape on people's properties that you ask for their permission, and then you also have it in your work order in a contract. And don't put any license plates, street signs, addresses, or say anything about the clients. Just keep it about what you're doing to keep it professional. But anyways.
That's in our terms of service. Every single one, there's a media clause that basically says, hey, by signing this, you're agreeing to our media clause. And if you don't, then we need your express written permission that you do not want us to record on your property or take pictures.
Yeah, because today in the future in social media, people are marketing their businesses. They're marketing a personal brand. I had this idea of you get one of those neck things where you just have the GoPro in wide angle with your hands, and then you're treating poison ivy and talking. And hey, my friend, if you want to level up your landscaping business, there's 3 levers that you can pull to make more profits immediately. And that's why I want to invite you to join my totally free virtual workshop, the Level Up Landscaping Business Workshop. Take out your phone, open up your browser, and go to keithkelfitz.com/levelup. I'll see you there. I have another client that I referred you to, one of my landscaping clients. You came and treated all his poison ivy, and it's like you come, you charge people all this money.
What do you mean all this money?
All this money, and you show up and you just put little sprays and then wear a white coat and I come. No, this is a good thing.
The property.
Because you're not digging a ditch dripping in sweat. I know you sweat and you work your tail off and you make I create high value for the clients. But I'm fascinated.
What's so fascinating about it?
Because when I see poison ivy growing up a tree, in huge vines and these, and I know how to identify it because not only because of Daniel Mirval and you, I've called you and send you pictures.
Yep.
Me and my one guy who works for me, he's like, poison ivy, I'm not touching it. I'm like, dude, I don't blame you, bro, because I used to be like, quit being a wuss, let's get in there. And then for the next 3 weeks, I'm itching all over the place. And you can literally climb all around in poison ivy and you don't get any of it on you ever. And you've made a business about diving into and remediating something that other people avoid and hate. Yeah.
No, many people have said that, if they were to do what I do, they'd probably end up in the hospital or bedridden. I've met so many people that have actually gotten poison ivy and been in the hospital for, a month.
A month?
A month, because they had such a bad reaction to it. So when you think about that value, what's a month of your life in misery in a hospital bed? It's I assure you it is less than, that is worth more than what I charge. And so you just charge accordingly. Some people, it's really interesting. Some people, when I tell them what we charge, they say, that's it? And you're just like, damn, man, I really wish I could have said more. And then some people are like, oh my God, that's expensive. So you have 2 different people, but they're 2 different clients, and the people that say that's expensive, well, you're not my client. That's the type of client that you are. This is why that they make weed killers in big box stores. Because if you think this is expensive for a professional with a workers' comp and insurance to come here and perform this for you, then go to the big box stores, pick up a $20 weed killer and try it yourself.
Bro.
And when you fail multiple times and you and your wife end up getting poison ivy and then you give it to your kids and then you get it again a week later after it's gone because it's on the tools that you use to get rid of it, then you might realize that calling professionals would have been worth it in the first place. But most people are very prideful, and so they won't even, admit that. But that's generally what happens. And I've had people that said that they tried to do it themselves, and then they contacted us, said, yeah, it was way too big of an issue. We definitely want you to take care of it. It's like, hey, we're here to help.
And the poison ivy is a vine, and it keeps spreading and growing and multiplying, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people have recommended using goats, which if you're listening to this, please, for the love of God, don't use goats.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It's a huge thing on the internet that goats eat poison ivy.
Seriously? What happens if a goat eats poison ivy?
Nothing. Their digestive system. Poison ivy only affects upper primates. So humans, monkeys, chimpanzees. That whole, realm of species on Earth is what it affects. So goats eat this. It's not a big deal. But it's advantageous for goats. And why that is because when the goat bites down and eats the leaves of the poison ivy plant, it triggers the roots to send up more plants. Because along the root system, there's these little nodules called rhizomes. And those rhizomes are basically fail-safes for the plant to survive. And so when it's damaged, it sends a fight or flight signal. Hey, I need to survive. Send up more plants. And so the goat is doubling its food system every time that it eats these plants. And I've been to properties where people have had goats to take care of it, and they have an ungodly amount of poison ivy on their property because the goats just kept spreading it.
Oh.
It's a lot of misinformation on the internet.
What?
I know. And I'm all for organic options if you can, right? But I've also met a lot of people who are not the most pro-pesticide in the world, and most of them say, I'll make an exception for poison ivy because it's the risk reward, right? The risk of the pesticide in their mind is less than the risk of what the plant has actually done to them.
Wait, why is it a pesticide and why is it not a herbicide?
Well, pesticide is a broad term that covers herbicides, insecticides, pesticides are just anything that deters a pest.
Oh, a pest could be a plant.
A pest can be a plant, right? We have invasive species; those are considered pests. Insects, fungi, bacteria, snails. There's a whole list of what could be a pesticide. Even soap and water could be classified as a pesticide. Because even that can kill insects.
Bro. So when you walk on a customer's property and you know all this stuff. Well, it's funny because I do landscaping and I can walk around with a customer and know and be able to diagnose the garden beds and
you know what it needs.
Be a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 job. It's just like we've just done it so much. But I don't know why do I find this so fascinating that you have created an entire business treating poison ivy? It's because I spent my life going, poison ivy. I'm still stuck on that. And it's like, you sent me a picture of a commercial building that had huge poison ivy vines growing up the side of it, bro.
Yeah, that was a brick building, commercial building. They were a print shop. And down this entire brick building, there was like two buildings side by side. They were maybe a 6-foot spread apart. Okay, they were very, very close together. And all along this building for about 30-ish feet was a I don't know if you'd call it a cart. It's like a curtain of vines that were growing up the wall. And then they went all the way up to the tippy top of this building. It was probably 25 feet high. And they were coming off and curling over and growing almost to the other building. They were growing in the power lines, everything else. It was a wild job. I ended up not getting that one because it was going to cost them too much money to shut down to unhook the power for me to be able to work safe. So,
you got to shut down the power.
Yeah, that's a safety standard. And that's actually a safety standard that...
Because it was going up the power lines.
Yeah, it would be considered energized.
Because can you, really quick, this is actually a good moment to warn people about landscapers, about electricity and working around power lines. Can you spend like a minute just doing that?
Yeah. So electricity is pretty serious. If you guys have never worked around electricity, it can kill you in an instant. And that is not a joke. That is real. My first real exposure to electrical hazard training came from an electrical hazard course that the ISA Michigan chapter put on. And it was like a 4-hour course. They kind of showed us some video demonstrations, and then we had an in-person demonstration. Basically, there's some companies out there that have a mobile utility trailer, and it mimics the utility lines, and they can show you exactly what happens, how it occurs, what does it take to kill you, etc. So if anything is touching a line, a hot wire, whether it has a coating, a jacket around the outside or not, you should classify that as energized. And what does that mean? That means that it has the capacity to have electricity passing through it. So even if a branch is touching a line over here and you decide that you're just going to cut it down at the base of the tree, you could still potentially be contacting electricity, and then that electricity jumps from the tree through your body, kills you, goes to the ground. So we definitely want to be concerned with that. With landscapers, you guys, it's not just what's above ground, it's also what's below ground. So you want to know where the utilities are below ground if you have to do any sort of digging, even if it's just planting a shrub or a tree. You want to call Dig. You want to call these companies out here that are provided for you to come out and do this so that way we can all be safe. But
if you even so much as touch a branch that's touching a live wire, and the humidity in the air is right, or it's traveling through, or maybe it just rained, or maybe it's just touching in the right way, and you touch that branch, bro. Let's say it's, I don't know, it's a silent killer too.
Oh yeah.
You don't even know. You're just working, and you're working near some electrical lines. Everybody should go and watch videos of workers being roasted on fire like marshmallows, trapped, holding on to the line.
It'll scare you.
And you'll be like, whoa.
It'll scare you. And it happens really fast.
Yeah.
Unbelievable fast. I'm lucky. I don't work in tree work necessarily, right? I'm not up in trees. Very seldomly do I have to worry about electrical hazards and poison ivy and mosquitoes. But I do know that this exists. I know that, landscapers, tree workers, you guys are all extremely exposed to this stuff. And it's good to go get training. And if you want to look up, electrical hazard and prevention training, I'm sure there's workshops online that you can go to through the Tree Care Industry Association. There's probably also some local ones. You could probably also contact a utility company and say, hey, how do I get education? How can I get somebody to come out and present something to my company? Maybe you get a group of companies that come in, right? Safety should be a priority. And I think the more of that we have in the industry, the better. I advocate for performing safe pesticide practices as well as tree care practices, right? These are all, pesticides are tools, and we need to know how to use them and use them correctly.
Bro, I got a lot of respect for you because you actually went through the ranks and got proper certifications and licensing and learned the best practices of the green industry professionals and what to do and how to run a business. And so
it wasn't always that way.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, I used to work for a company, and, when I was hired onto that company, they trained me according to their best practices. And their best practices might have not been the actual best practices. I might have been using gloves of certain thicknesses that I shouldn't have. Maybe they were thinner to save some money and things like that. So, we were doing a buckthorn remediation job, and we were using a chipper. Have you ever heard of like a whipper chipper where there's no safety bar to stop the chipper?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, super terrifying chippers if you've never been around.
Wait, real quick. Buckthorn's an invasive
tree here in Michigan and a lot of the Midwest.
And then you were using a dangerous chipper that could suck you up.
Oh, yeah. We're throwing buckthorn in there that had vines wrapped around it. You get a vine wrapped around your ankle and boom, you just go right through it.
Yep.
Yo, it's really important to get your numbers dialed in. Basically have a budget when you're running a service business. Landscaping, window cleaning, whatever you're doing. And I created a free PDF guide download, and it's basically a budget. And the cool thing is I've taken actual pictures of a budget, like say a truck cost you $933 per day you got to make for that truck. And then you can also figure out what your personal budget is and draw a line down the center. Anyways, I'll explain more when you go to keithkelfitz.com/budget, and you put your name and email and download it right then and there and read through it and look through it and then implement this stuff into your business. All right, I'll see you there.
So, it wasn't always that way, but me personally and my personality, I wanted to gravitate to a next level up, which is not performing practices like that. I wanted to go to a point where, I wanted to become the standard. I wanted to become the gold standard of poison ivy care, if that's a thing.
See, you have a high goal like that. And then so with poison ivy, that's amazing. How did you move into getting rid of mosquitoes, and how do you even go about doing that?
Yeah, so when I worked for this other company, I worked for them for about 6 years. Originally, they were like the only poison ivy remediation company here in the state of Michigan. And, I'm working there, and I saw that this was an awesome idea to do. And so on year 2, when I was working there, I said, hey, sell me a franchise. And, I wasn't presented the opportunity to do that. So I said, okay, I'll give it a couple more years, see what happens. 4 more years went by, 6 years went by total for that company. And I said, I got to leave. And while I was there, I said, why don't we add mosquitoes? Like, I keep seeing all these mosquito companies around, like, you deal with poison ivy, it makes you itch, mosquitoes make you itch. Like, doesn't that make sense to just merge them together? And, I got met with a no, because it wasn't my business.
Ditch the itch.
It wasn't my business. And so I finally said, all right, well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do poison ivy, and I'm going to do mosquitoes because it's going to be my business. I'm going to have the ability to. So Ditch the Itch was born, right? Poison ivy and mosquitoes.
Ditch the itch. Hey, but how do you actually get rid of the mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes, you can do it a couple different ways.
You run around with chopsticks?
No, or vacuum, just suck them.
Vacuum. You got a backpack.
No, we don't do that for our clients. That would cost way too much money. But what we are doing is, we apply insecticides across the property. We use larvicides. We adjust the
larvicide?
A larvicide. So understanding pest control in terms of insects, you need to understand the life cycle of a pest. So we have egg cycles, larva cycles, you have nymph cycles, adult cycles. There's a bunch of different stages of insects. And so you have to understand what you can target, what you can use to target a specific life cycles, and what's best. The best way to kill mosquitoes is actually at the larva stage. Larvae are going to be in standing water. Most of us know that. Maybe you've seen some like little floaties in standing water. Generally, those are mosquito larvae that are hanging out. And so mosquito dunks are an awesome bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis. And you just throw this bacteria into standing water and it kills the larva. So it wipes out, hundreds, if not thousands of mosquitoes. And
does it kill other things as well?
No.
Wow.
I know. It's awesome. They found this in a lab that this works, and like, all right, this is a biological control that they didn't even realize. And so then they started to mass produce it. And then you get into the point where, okay, now we've controlled the larva. How do we control the juvenile stages and the adults? And that's when you that's when you start to use in a program things like insect growth regulators and adulticide insecticides. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Bro, my marketing brain is going nuts right now thinking about like commercials for, dude.
Me walking around with a vacuum.
Well, it could be a customer running around with a vacuum, freaking out, and they can't take it, and they're itching. And then there's poison ivy and all these different variations of funny marketing commercials that are memorable. And then you show up, dun, 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 and you could show up like, with like a cape and a huge poison ivy leaf on the back of it. Introducing Ditch the Itch. And it's like a portal opens up, and then your truck comes through. And then it's like, all the mosquitoes are like, bah!
I got to hire you for my marketing team.
Oh, bro. It's not. My friend Hatch is dude, this guy's a walking brilliant idea factory, and he's a musician, but he helps me with my videos. And he's come up with some amazing ideas. And we just filmed a TV commercial, and he came up with funny ideas for the script, and they were so good. So anyways, my point is, when you have the funny ideas that are funny and memorable, as far as your marketing, you can film these kind of commercials that for very low cost that you can put online and then run ads to, and then it'll just permeate your brand in people's mind and make you lots of leads, lots of money.
Yeah. And plus people remember, you had the funny commercial, right? They call you. Yeah.
So where do you plan on going? And I want you to talk about Elevate Applicate, your business, how you're teaching people stuff. Talk about the future. Talk about that, bro.
Yeah. So the future of Ditch the Itch, I mean, that's, something that I go back and forth on all the time. I'm not exactly sure if we're going to take it to a franchise level, if we're going to just grow it, regionally and have multiple different branches. I go back and forth on that pretty frequently. My original goal was to start with franchising because there's not too many companies that franchise this business model. But, That remains to be seen. Right now, our goal is to grow. I'm hoping to hire a third technician this year. We're hoping to add a third truck. We continuously are growing with our mosquito clients and poison ivy clients. And yeah, that's kind of the growth. This year, we're purchasing some new equipment. We just got a skid sprayer, 110-gallon skid sprayer. That is going to be for our large job, which I know we were talking about earlier, Keith. You had mentioned that, we closed a 5-figure mosquito control job. That was a client of ours that owned 110 acres. They've got 3.5 miles of trails that span this 110 acres. And so they had a company do it previously, but apparently they weren't licensed or insured, and they didn't have licensings to apply pesticides. They reminded me of like an older Keith Kelfitz that would just do anything and everything to make a buck. You were painting, doing concrete, stuff like that. But, they found us, and we said we were willing to do it. And while we were walking around and I was inspecting this property, I kept asking, how did they do this? Did they walk around with backpack sprayers? Did they have side-by-sides they were driving through the woods spraying? Like, what were they doing? And the guy told me, I don't know. So I said, well, I'm going to tell you that we are not going to do this with backpack sprayers. I'm not going to subject myself or my technicians to that torture, because it would literally take us both a week to do this with backpack sprayers. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy a 110-gallon skid sprayer. We're going to use our trucks, drive through the woods, and spray these trails efficiently. And then, that's baked into the cost. That client knows that he's buying this for us, and they're right around $5,000. And so that, basically, so long as we spray his property, we're going to be using that there. But now, once we have that, we can start doing other things. We can start doing condo associations, doing plant healthcare treatments on trees. We can start doing condo associations.
Could you incorporate drones into spraying?
You could. The DJI does make ag drones, but now you're getting into a different licensing. Here in Michigan, there's an aerial license, and so you have to have experience performing aerial applications in order to get that license. I've always wanted one, though. They're like $40,000. But, probably overkill for 3.5 miles. It would
you could have a freaking just go gadget helicopter, and you can.
Well, I've seen those ag drones. There's a company here in Michigan that actually they spray farm fields.
Yeah.
And they're replacing crop dusters.
So sweet.
And they do it in a more accurate fashion. They're lower to the ground. There's less risk of drifting chemicals from side to side. So, long term, they are going to be, the way. And the cool thing about them is that you can connect them together and they sense one another. And so they can stay a certain distance apart from each other and move and rotate the fields together. They're sweet. They're awesome.
Dude.
But the future, that's has yet to be seen. But so far this year, it looks like we're doing good. That one client, our mosquito division, grew pretty substantially just with one client.
Dude, I love it. And so Elevate Applicate, your website, this is crazy, bro. It's like we're in the future now, and you're creating online programs that are helping people pass tests.
Yeah. So this stems back 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, the Michigan Green Industry Association, which is probably one of the largest landscaping green industry associations in the state.
The MGIA.
The MGIA.
Yeah.
If you're local to Michigan, I highly encourage that you become a member. They really are doing wonderful stuff for our industry. They had reached out to me and asked me if I would like to become an instructor for pesticide applicators. And I was kind of like, well, that sounds kind of interesting. I've attended their classes to get credits for my license, but I've never thought about, becoming a teacher to do it. And so I said, yes, why not? I said, I'm up for the challenge. I've never really done public speaking or spoken in front of people like that. But originally in my life, when I went to college a long time ago, I did want to become an educator. I wanted to become a secondary educator and teach high school kids. And then I realized I didn't want to, do that. So this was my chance to become an educator within my field of expertise. So I said, let's do it. And so I started going down this road, and it's like, well, this is pretty interesting. How they make this happen, how they get 50 people in a room or 100 people in a room to learn about pesticides for continuing education credits. So I said, well, how could I do that in my own little niche way? And so the brainchild of Elevate Applicate was born. Elevate Applicate is basically an education company for pesticide applicators or people that want to become pesticide applicators. Originally, it was, again, for continuing education credits for Michigan pesticide applicators, but it spawned very quickly into helping people become pesticide applicators across the country. So I put up a 11 video series on YouTube. You can find it under Elevate Applicate on YouTube. And it's all of the chapters broken down into everything you need to know to pass the National Core Certified Pesticide Applicator test.
Bro.
And, after uploading that and seeing the responses, a lot of people started saying, hey, do you have any sort of, additional material? Do you have any practice quizzes? Do you have any practice exams? And I said, I don't, but I can make one. So I stayed up for like 40 hours straight and made a 200 question exam, threw it together and put it out there into the universe saying, hey, if you want to test your knowledge before you go take your real exam, this is a phenomenal asset to you.
Wow. Where can people find it? What do they type into the Mr. YouTubes?
You can just,
Google?
If you wanted to go to Google, you could just go to Elevate Applicate, elevate-applicate.com. If you wanted to find us on YouTube, just search Elevate Applicate. You'll see a navy blue circle with a orange tree on it with a wicked looking root flare.
I'm looking it up right now.
And if you just search National Core Pesticide Applicator training, I guarantee you will pop up.
Oh, Elevate Applicate. There you are. 411 subscribers.
Oh, it was 406 at the beginning of the day. So.
Subscribed. Oh, I see all right here. Turf grass pest management category 3A chapter 7. Bro, you got this all in. Hey, my friend. If you want to launch your landscaping business successfully this year, then I highly recommend you check out my brand new free landscaping launch 3-video series at keithkelfitz.com/landscaping series. Listen, I've been running my landscaping business for over 13 years, and I really believe I know what it takes to start a home service business from literally nothing and take it up to the 6-figure mark. I've been through all types of frustrations and lessons and successes, and I've condensed all of that wisdom down into 3 hyper-specific trainings that you can get access to right now for free. Open up your browser and type in keithkelfitz.com/landscaping series, and I'll see you on the inside.
I've been working on turf grass. I had some things happen, so I have one more chapter to go on that to finish that. But I'm working on getting the categories too, because each state, they break it down differently in terms of categories and what you need to study. But in the overarching aspect, if you want to learn about turf grass category across most states is going to be the same. If you go further south, it's a little bit different because you're going to have different grass types. You're going to have different weeds that you got to deal with. But the overall premise of pesticide applications in turf is going to be the same. Same thing with ornamentals. Okay, ornamentals, whether it's a palm tree, whether it's a shrub, whether it's an oak tree, you're still managing ornamentals. You're still going to be using the same types of equipment. It's just the species might change. So my goal is to help get people in this industry. It's pretty evident when I go to these classes and I'm an instructor or I go to conventions, the demographic within this industry is aging and we need younger people to get into it, and you can make a healthy career out of coming into this industry. Mm-hmm. So that's my attempt to help people and get in this industry and make a good life for themselves like I have for myself.
Let's say somebody's crazy busy right now. They're running their lawn and landscape business. And they want to go get some certifications and add this service to their business. What's the first place that they can go to start learning and dive in and get around others and get these certifications?
I mean, contact your local green industry group. I think that's a good place to start. If you're too busy to go to in-person trainings, YouTube. If you wanted to learn how to become a pesticide applicator, there was a gentleman who left a comment on one of the videos just yesterday. He said that he watched through the series 3 times and he went and took the exam and got a 92%. So, I mean, if you're too busy, listen to the content and absorb it and then go and take the exam. Because you're probably not going to be allowed to perform pesticide applications if you don't have a license in any state. And so if you wanted to start doing pesticide applications out there on properties, you would want to start by getting your license. So that's where I would start. If you wanted to go a little bit more advanced beyond that, the Tree Care Industry Association has an awesome amount of literature that you can...
TCIA.
The TCIA, yep. You can dive in. They have a ton of information, a ton of courses. They've revamped a lot of courses. They made a lot of stuff digital, a ton of books that they have available. There's also the International Society of Arboriculture that you can dive into if you want to learn more about, advanced tree work. Reach out to people in your industry. That's why, being a part of those industry groups is so essential. I can't tell you how many, high-end, multi-million-dollar company, CEOs and owners I've met because I've joined that. And they're true assets and they're true friends. If I needed to call them and say, hey, I'm dealing with an issue, do you have like a Friday night or a Thursday night where we can go grab some dinner and talk about this? They'd probably say, yeah, because they legitimately want to help you. Because they also see that the industry is aging. And, they truly do want to help continue this industry.
Dude, I'm forever fascinated how you can come from nothing, no background, no education, no money, poor, broke, on welfare from a broke family in a trailer park, and build a multiple six-figure business and live a beautiful life and be successful and have money in the bank and chase your dreams and achieve them and go on vacations because you can start your own business in the green industry and go on YouTube and on the internet and podcasts like this and learn and pull yourself up and learn the ropes and literally achieve it all and start and grow a business and flourish because of your own dreams and your own willpower. Or you could just sit around scrolling, looking at Instagram and TikTok all day. And
I was going to say, you got to be hungry for it because it's not without great sacrifice, right? You're not going to build something successful if you're not willing to sacrifice some time. We were just talking about that earlier. My summers, my time with my family, my wife, the time in the summer where I am just pretty much all in on my business, they know that I'm not going to be the most present father. I'm not going to be the most present husband. I have to dedicate time to this, to grow this, to nurture this, to turn it into what I want it to become. But when the season's over, I am ultra present, ultra there with my wife and kids. And so it's just an exchange, right? I think I heard this on Caleb Allman's podcast.
He's a smart dude.
So something loses, something gains, I think is how he referred to it as. But, it's a give and take. Mm-hmm. And you have to have that balance. And sometimes you can be completely unbalanced for a little bit and then bring the scales back to balance. Mm. So it's interesting. Wow. Our industry is really interesting. There's so many avenues that you can go down.
Wow. I think let's stop right there. Where can everybody find you again?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at DitchTheItchMI. You can also find us at Elevate Applicate. I'm starting to post there a little bit more. Elevate Applicate on YouTube. Ditch the Itch has a few videos. I'm hoping to get some more up this year. You can find the Poison Ivy Academy, which is where we have all of our training programs to teach people how to...
PoisonIvyAcademy.com.
That's the one. And you can find that online, if you want to learn how to implement poison ivy remediation services in your business. There's Elevate Applicate. Like I said, if you want to learn how to become a pesticide applicator, you can go there. And, we're all over. So
let's stop right there, man. Thank you so much for being on my show. Much honor, respect to you, bro. You are truly humbling to be around, and you're the perfect example of somebody who is hungry. Because hunger cannot be taught, and you're hungry, dude. Every single time I've talked to you over the years, you're literally just making advances in your knowledge, your education, and your business, and making it all happen, and now inspiring others. And dude, thank you for being on my show.
Thanks for having me, Keith. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody listening right now, I'm talking to you. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please take a minute to leave the show a well-worded review. It'll take you 30 seconds. Just do it real quick. And that'll help boost the show up the rankings. And if you haven't registered yet, my Level Up Landscaping Business Workshop is totally free. Virtual event. Go to keithkelfitz.com/levelup. But don't do any of that before you check out Ditch the Itch and go subscribe to Elevate Applicate, his YouTube channel, all that stuff, bro, and the PoisonIvyAcademy.com. I'll see you guys on the next show. Peace.
Take care.
Hey, I hope you liked the show. And if you like the Untrapped Podcast and you get value from it, can you please take a minute and go over to Spotify and leave it a well-worded positive 5-star review? It helps boost the rankings on Spotify so the show can get to more people. Therefore, these messages can get out to more people and inspire more people so then they can go out and start their small businesses and crush it and get to the next level. It's a huge deal. All right, I'll see you in the next show.